I really believe that if we all did something that scared us every single solitary day, our lives would change so quickly we wouldn't know what hit us, right?
Let's go, Jen.
And scary in that like terror-excitement way, like terror excitement. Like you don't have to like run into traffic, but something that's like in the direction of where you want to go that scares you, because fear is the sign, it's the compass that you're getting outside of the familiarity zone.
So true.
Right? So if you just take those steps outside and just do the scary thing every day. Wow. Because that's really when I was making all of my huge financial transformations. It was always, my coach would always tell me something. I'd be like, totally didn't want to do it, but I knew if I did it, it would transform my life. And it was exciting. It was like leaping into the void, just like, ah.
Yeah,
and that's
I love
the
that.
sign. Yeah.
I have this concept in my latest book, The Greatness Mindset, called creating your fear list. If you want to become fearless, you got to create a fear list.
That's brilliant.
And really go all in on this. This is something I did as a teenager, in my 20s, in my 30s, at different seasons of life. I was like, what is the thing that makes me feel so insecure right now? I had a lot of false confidence.
I love that.
I was like this jockey ego, like I'm big and tough and I'm an athlete and I can dominate on the sports field, but then I couldn't talk to girls without being, sweating and being terrified.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't dance or sing in public without being like humiliated or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak in public also. So all these things I wrote on my fear list in my 20s after I broke my wrist and was on my sister's couch, I was like, I'm already humiliated. I have no money. I'm living in my sister's place for a year and a half. My dad just went through this thing that I don't have him really in my life anymore. My passion, my dreams are gone. So what do I do now? Let me just conquer all my fears. And it was the greatest gift I gave myself because it gave me so much belief and confidence in me. Every time I would just get a little bit better in my fears. It's not like I had to like overcome it all in a day.
Yeah.
But I just saw a little bit of progress every day in practicing my fears, public speaking, a little bit every week. I was like a little less nervous, a little more confident, had a little more skill every week over a year's time, where I was like, man, I'm a powerful human being. I can do anything now. Let me figure out the next fear. And just kept repeating it. And I'm still in that now. Like I'm trying to learn Spanish and I still get insecure like speaking Spanish. I'm still like a beginner, but it's like, I gotta keep practicing and a little bit of growth every day, a little bit better, I don't have to be fluent overnight, but what am I overcoming? Just little by little. That really gives me a lot more confidence in self and belief. And I think my thesis is self-doubt is the killer of dreams.
Right.
When we doubt self, it's really hard to do anything courageously because we're constantly in doubt mode.
Right.
That's why I loved your book about stop doubting yourself and start stepping into your greatness.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are stuck in doubt. Yeah. What do you think beyond facing fears we can do to believe in ourselves more and overcome the self-doubt that we have better?
I think not waiting until you're ready, and this is kind of saying the same thing, like facing the fear, but like making sure everything's perfect, making sure you've got all the money tucked away, making sure you're the right weight, whatever, like just doing it now, just do it now and take action now is a really big one, I think. And also, paying attention again to how you speak about yourself and what you think about yourself and how you treat yourself. And, I wrote a whole section in Bad Habits about boundaries. Boundaries are huge when it comes to self-care and self-doubt. And we make lousy boundaries and put everybody in front of us because we want to be liked. Yes. And then we're passive aggressive and resentful, which is super fun for everyone, So it's like, but, really getting clear on who you are and what you love and making that a priority.
When did you stop abandoning yourself?
I still do it sometimes, of course. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
In what ways do you abandon? Is it in relationships? Is it in self-care? Is it in the way you talk to
Not speaking, sort of not standing my ground in the moment if somebody says something really crappy, And it doesn't have to be, I also don't want to be the personality police. Like if someone's going to say something, but more just not saying anything. Like instead of like brushing it over because it's awkward, just letting it sit there like the big turd it is and let everybody like have a good look at it instead of helping them recover or, just like in the moment is always interesting to me. So slowing. So my mantra for the past 5 years has been like, slow down and shut up. Like, just slow down and shut up. Like, just listen and just choose your words wisely. And
you don't have to react to everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
That's personality police is always
yeah. It's not your job to teach everybody how to behave. No. Let them say what they want. Let them, and this is all part of my whole, like, not giving a crap what people think of me. It's just like, think what you like. Think what you like. It's not my...
Right. It's almost, in a way, and I've done this many times. It's not like I'm saying I'm above or anything, but when we judge another person because they didn't do it the way we liked it, or when they think they should do it, or when it's appropriate in the setting, we are being judgmental.
Yeah.
We are being judgmental. We're not accepting. I'm not saying that's the right or wrong thing to do, but it's just something to notice.
Yeah.
There's a judgment that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And when there's a judgment, there's usually a right and wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's just, is that serving us in the flow of our peace, our happiness, our abundance, and being in harmony with the world? And maybe there is a time where we need to step up and create a boundary and say something and say, get away from me, or whatever it is. But
it's really more about, it's the inside job thing where it's none of your business. That's their journey. So that's really, and I don't think we ever get there. I think it is human
to judge
and and it's fun. Come on, let's be honest.
Sure.
But I do think that it's a very worthwhile way to spend your time, like working that muscle and just getting, because it's also more fun. Like, if you just leave it to them and let them do it, you're not spinning out on it anymore. You're not focusing on it, which pulls more of it into your radar anyway. Like, if you can just focus on what feels fun and good and true, and just like let them have it back.
Right. Where would you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's call it the self-love inner peace scale, before you started writing You Are About It, which I'm assuming was, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 years before the book came out, somewhere around there.
I wish that I was that kind of writer, but no.
before
10 minutes before it was due, it was more like
right. Well, before the book, before you started writing the book, where were you on that scale of inner peace and self-love? 10 being you had, perfect peace internally, lots of love for self, care for self. 1 being you hated yourself and had no peace. Where were you on that scale?
Gosh, it really sort of depends on what area of my life we're talking about, because it's
kind of a general feeling
overall,
of like
I would
all
say
areas combined.
Probably around a 3 or a 4 before.
And where are you now?
Now, giving myself an 8 or a 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think shifted? Because most people that I've asked this question to, before they became more successful, more wealthy, more known, they were usually higher, and then they dropped.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Most people, I would say 90% of people I've asked this.
Wow.
And I'm always fascinated. And they say the pressure, the weight of it all.
Oh, God, no.
Do I really deserve all this? That type of thing.
So
why do you think it shifted from you from being a 3 or 4 to an 8 or a 9?
Because of what it's about. Like, for me, this whole journey of writing You Are About It and all the subsequent books is all about loving yourself. I mean, I put love yourself at the end of every chapter in You Are About It. So it's like, so this is all about getting into the flow and connecting with spirit and all that stuff. So for me, it's been such an education and so nurturing. And the more I teach it, the more I talk about it. It's me going to the spiritual gym. So it has helped me immensely. And I also have this interesting sort of perspective on my success. And I don't know what this says about me.
Sure.
That I can't take it in maybe, but I really feel like I'm watching all of it through binoculars backwards. Like it's over there and it's not me somehow. So I feel like I gave birth to the book. I did it. I wrote it, did the best job I could. Like, I'm very proud of the book, but I feel like the book is out there changing lives, and that, and also that it's really the people who are reading it that are, they're changing their lives. I didn't change their lives. I just gave birth to this thing, because plenty of people read it and don't change their lives. So, so I really credit the readers with changing their lives. I definitely helped them, but I didn't do it. They did it.
Do you feel like you wrote this book for yourself because you were at a 3 or 4 and then,
yeah, definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Right. Well, I love that, because we've done a lot of different similar, meditative experiences and emotional intelligence trainings. And I think you wrote in the book about, I think you went to Hoffman Institute or something like that, right?
Hoffman. Yeah. Did you go to that?
I went to something similar, called MITT here in LA, which was all about, it's a multiple week-long experiences of emotional,
Uh-huh.
exercises and
Screaming and yelling.
dyads
Yeah.
and, screaming these things. Yeah. And so when I was reading your book, I go, oh, wow, because I had just gone through this.
Oh,
and I
cool.
go, I know the power of this, how helpful it is to release the emotions.
Yes.
The old stories, the old narratives, the old, beliefs that we have about ourselves. There's many different modalities in doing that, but I went through a similar one as you. So I'm curious if you could, look 10 years in the past with you being 10 years older. So you're 10 years older from now, but you're looking at binoculars in the past to today.
Okay.
And you are coaching yourself today, 10 years wiser.
Oh, I know. Definitely stop complaining. That is one of my biggest goals, is just to really stop complaining. Wouldn't that be a lovely thing?
What do you complain about?
I don't even complain that much, but I would like to not do it at all. I really would. Like, I'm pretty good.
Right. What does complaining do to us when we do it?
It makes you focus on the negative and pull more of that into your radar and just get you out of gratitude and lowers your frequency. And I'm the most charmed person I know. So seriously. So, and you're allowed to have temper tantrums, and, you don't have to be all Pollyanna all the time. I'm a big believer in pity parties and like freaking out and getting mad, but you don't stay there and you get it out. Right.
Okay.
So just making that choice. Number 2 would be, I think it's about being more proactive about the things I love to do. Really, and I'm starting this now, I'm planning a river rafting trip. I'm aside from spiritual retreats and all that stuff. Oh, that was the other one, was meditating more, getting my spiritual practice better. So getting more proactive about planning the stuff I love.
Activities, hobbies, experiences.
Yeah, because I tend to
people, friends.
I love doing stuff, but I really am not the best planner. And so this year I'm planning, and one of my top 3 favorite things is being outside doing some gigantic hike or camping trip or backpacking trip with people I love. So being the person who plans those, because they don't happen unless I plan them. So, and they're super fun, and I have plenty of people who will go. So
sure.
Yeah.
And the third one was the meditation one?
Yeah, just really I'm really good at meditating, and I do have a good practice, but I feel like I could be more consistently in it, and just up my spiritual game and my spiritual muscle. Yeah.
It's you coaching yourself from the future.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess stop thinking that I can't meet that I'm too successful. That would be another.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. You think a lot of women sabotage their financial success because they don't think they'll attract the man of their dreams?
I bet they do. Because it's such an ingrained piece of our, living in a patriarchy as a woman. It's really interesting. And it's such an exciting time to be a woman right now. I'm so excited I am, just because I feel like there's so much stuff that is airing out, right, about the way that we've been raised. And but I even still find myself I had to hire a plumber, and there was a female plumber. I was like, I'm not going to hire her, I'm going to hire him. And I was like, oh, really, Jen Sincero? That was my knee jerk, because we're raised to think men are more capable.
Wow.
And that's just deep in me, so I can catch it and obviously not do that. But it's so deeply, deeply ingrained that I am sure women are not letting themselves be successful because of that. And also that it's not ladylike, that it's not feminine, and just all of these things that I don't think we're at all aware of that are now coming to the surface. Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
How important it is healing our past and our thoughts tied to having peace around making money?
Super important. Because if you go out and make a ton and you're still weird about it, right? You're, first of all, not going to enjoy it, and you'll probably lose it. Or you'll be, put it in a hole in the backyard and never spend it, or
hoard it.
Yeah. So it is.
What is the thing that people should focus on healing the most in order to set themselves financially free?
I think it's different for everybody. I think we all are fed different lies and fears and things. So I think it's figuring out what your bag of worms is. You've got to get clear about that. And I'll tell you, the way that I discovered the big kahuna for me, which was my dad, stabbing my dad in the heart, like I was talking about earlier, was spending money. So the way that I did the letter to money. I was really serious about figuring out my stuff with money. And I was at a coaching seminar, and this coach was speaking from the stage, and he said that he charged $85,000 a year to work with him. And he was great, and I really loved him, and I totally wanted to work with him. And when I heard $85,000, because I had been doing all this work on my wealth consciousness, instead of being like, he's high, like what but about a million.
He's crazy, yeah.
Very rational excuses not to do it. Instead of going there, I went to, okay, how am I going to get 85 grand? Like that's where my mind went first. And that's only because I'd been going to the financial spiritual gym for so long that's where my mindset was. So I went, how am I going to get $85,000? And I had a vision of my father. And a lot of stuff comes to me visually. A vision of my dad. And he always wore this yellow V-neck sweater, and he had his hands in his pockets, and he was looking down at the ground really sad. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. It's going to kill him if I get rich, because he won't be able to show me he loves me anymore.
Oh my gosh.
It was so profound. And that really was the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
So what did you do after that then?
Well, it was interesting. I ended up not working with that coach. But I
got you thinking about,
but I ended up hiring a different coach
for a lot of money.
A couple weeks later for the same amount.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so how did you heal that belief around, like, I'm going to kill my dad if I make a lot of money?
Yeah.
Did you have conversations with him? Did you do something internally? What?
It wasn't about him at all. It was about me and my perception. So what I started doing was visualizing him being so proud of me and supporting me and being happy, and like turning it around, just being like, he's going to be so relieved that I can take care of myself, because my dad had me when he was older. So it's like he'll feel so rested. And the other thing too that was so funny, like my relationship with it was pretty rough. And so when I started making money, and I would tell him about it, he didn't really listen very well. And I'd be like, Dad, I just got paid this much. He's like, that's nice. He has an Italian accent that I always try to imitate that I'm terrible at.
Right.
He, at the end of the call, he'd be like, do you need some help financially? And I'd be like, Dad, I just told you that. And so I'd get, all after the yellow sweater, hands in pockets moment, I was like, it's the only way he knows how to show love. So I could be like, Dad, I just made $10 million. And at the end of the call, he'd be like,
$20.
Do you need $20? I'd be like, that'd be great. Thank you so much. And I could see how much it meant to him. And I get $20 and everything's good. So it was a really beautiful, and it really healed my relationship with him a lot.
Wow. Did he say, I love you? Did he speak?
He always said, I love you. Like he was good that way, but he was a real, he was a super introvert, and he just was really uncomfortable with emotions. Yes. And he's Italian. I thought they're all screaming and yelling.
Right.
And I was like, are you sure you're Italian?
Sure.
Yeah.
But that was his way of showing affection and that he loved you by this act.
And he also was raised to think men are providers, and that's how you show,
Even if you make money, I'm still going to provide and support you.
Yes.
What do you think would have happened if you would have stopped allowing him to give you, 10, 20, $50?
What would really hurt his feelings?
Because he wanted to give it to you. What would have...
It would have really hurt his feelings. Like it really would have made him feel cut off from me.
So this is interesting, because you don't need someone to pay for you for things, right? Like you can pay for your own life. You can pay for food and dinner and trips and your home. Like you don't need someone to pay for you.
Right.
The thing that I've learned in the last couple of years of being with my girlfriend, Martha, is that it's she can take care of her own stuff, and she takes care of certain stuff, and there's certain things that I take care of for us, and I take care of myself financially in certain ways. But I've gotten to the point where I don't feel like I need to pay for everything to feel like I'm enough.
Right.
Like I'm good enough, or that I'm deserving or worthy, or this is my value in being able to give everything financially. Now, again, and I don't want to rob her of being able to pay for the things that she's made her money. I want her to be able to pay for certain things for herself. But it does mean I get to show up in a different way, maybe not financially, but spiritually, with my presence, with my generosity of my words and my time, my thoughtfulness, and provide value in other ways not tied to money. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable if we haven't trained ourselves how to provide value outside of money in relationships. And I've had to learn that, and it's been a powerful breakthrough in a lot of ways.
Cool.
It hasn't been in the last 2 years. It's been like a decade of me doing this, but it allows me not to feel like, oh, she's paying for her own food right now. I'm worthless.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Then I'm nothing to her, and
Right. Yeah.
And it's been powerful to empower her to be able to make decisions financially.
Yeah.
Which she was doing before me. She doesn't need me to do that.
Right.
She was already doing that.
Yeah.
But to me, now I feel like I have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
And she just has to like let me provide. At the
Yeah,
time.
I know. It's interesting.
It's more of a mutual providing of value in the relationship, intimately, peacefully. Like the highest currency for me is peace.
Yeah.
I would take peace over money all day long. And she brings peace to the relationship. Therefore, I don't need her to ever spend money on anything. Just be peaceful, and you've got a happy man. You know? But and I think that's just something to look at. Like, how can you bring value into a relationship not related to money?
Yeah. Well, listen, Louis, I'm cutting you a check after I leave. Like the fact that you said that right after, I was like, oh, of course it's my daddy stuff. I mean, come on. Yeah. Yeah. No, that is something to look at for sure.
What was the best lesson your dad's taught you?
You know, he, I don't know if this is such a great lesson, but it's a really funny line, so I have to say it. But I remember I think he taught me a lot about perspective, because he grew up in Italy, in Naples, and he didn't come over here till he was in his 20s. And so and he just always thought American children were so spoiled. He was like, oh my God, you whiny little, like, I can't even believe. So I remember like one time, like in college, I was like, Dad, will you help pay for therapy? I'd really like to talk to a therapist. He's like, you don't need therapy. You know what you need? A war fought on your soil. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, right. Good perspective. But just sort of his, I mean, I think also that you can love in different ways. Like, I feel like that's sort of what he has really taught me, you know, with the money stuff. Like that was just you love however you can. And that he really did. I mean, the guy could not look at me without crying. Like
Really?
But he couldn't express it. So it was like he couldn't. And I was so angry at him for so long for not
telling you certain things.
Yes, and not listening to me the right way and all this stuff. And I'm just he lived into his 90s, and I'm so glad he did, because I feel so good with where our relationship was by the time he passed, because I put down the bag. You know, I was like, let it go, Jen. Like he is doing
his best.
The best that he can, and he loves me. And how lucky am I that I have a dad who loves me that much? To shift out of that literally means to obliterate your reality and your identity, right? So that's why
it's like an explosion. It's like you have to have a death, an explosion, a bomb almost to go off.
It does, and it's killing off your old identity. And this is why I'm going to totally go off on a segue here, but this is why, like,